Super Shaky Cam layout update time. Yay, because I haven't done one of these in a little while. So, I'm going to try and keep it short since it is kind of late at night. And by late, I mean it's like 8 o'clock? Yeah, it is 7:52. So, here's some of the stuff that has gotten done since the last time the layout was talked about. Layout is a bit of a mess just because junk always gets piled up on it. So, we'll start down here. And we'll slow that train down because he doesn't need to be doing 500 miles an hour anymore. So, we'll start over here in Holly. Now, from here down is temporary track. You can see I've got the paint for the ground put in. The cork for the CN Grand Trunk Holly subdivision, which cuts across here. I will actually have track in. Trains won't be running, and it'll go all the way up to the backdrop, which will be right here. I might end up relaying this curve just because I don't like how it looks. So, but I'm gonna. It's working fine now. It is a bit of a tight, but every corner on this layout, every curve is a little tight just to make sure that everything stays small and mobile in case I ever have to move it again. I don't have to tear it apart and start a new one. Moving a little further down, you can see I've got these two tracks in and this switch in here for the Corex industry. Is that train going to derail? Is it going to derail? Those cars all have the ginormous pizza cutter wheels and they like to derail at that transition piece. And nope, it made it. No, it didn't. I'll fix it later. So I got the switch in. I don't have the ground throw on it. I'm out of ground throws right now, but it's in. Track is powered up, and I can do switching there. I also have the switch here on the main line for it. Every switch on the main line is going to be a number. I say number 9 or number 8. They're really number 7s, just because that's what Atlas does. These are number 5s. Not number 6s. They're actually number 7s, because that's just what Atlas does. I don't remember what the last update video entailed, but I do have this is the South Lincoln Yard or Wixom Yard switch, and you can see the switch is actually set for the diverging route, which is the main line. So the main line is actually this is track 1 and this is track 2. And as you can see, if you throw this ground throw, if you look, the throw bar or the ground throw itself has a red indicator on one side and none on the other side, just to let you know that you have it thrown the right way or not. So I've got that ground throw in, I've got this ground throw in, and this switch in. Both tracks in the yard and the main are in and functioning. Crossing the field, I have both tracks in for the auto plant. So you got for the auto ramp, I already got one auto rack spotted there. I have been doing a little bit of switching. I don't have enough cars to do it yet, but I have enough that I can do a little bit. This switch still needs some work, and of course a ground throw, but it's got a little bit of gunk in it, because there's normal cork here, but then there's a thinner piece of foam here. So this switch is actually on a slight grade, and in order to make sure that it didn't pop up or anything, I put some glue on the switch, and some of it worked its way into the points. So I'm still cleaning the glue out of there. We've got a curved switch here put in, and it of course has its ground throw, and it can be thrown to either go down to the auto ramp tracks, which these each will hold 3 auto racks, or you can come over to the auto plant's loading dock at Flint or Wixom here, and I've got 2 cars or 3 cars staged there, 2 box cars, 1 gondola. That's what I was going to say. Moving a little further down, of course, I've got this little building here. The roof does not like to stay down, so if you're at a good angle, you don't see that, but it does have a light in it, and it's a kit-built building that I did myself. More ground throws and more switches. Moving on a little further, of course we got another switch here for the auto plant, and ground throw, of course. I built this road. I forget which road this is supposed to be, but I did build the road. It does not, it does line up, but it's not the same road that goes here, just because there's going to be the backdrop there. The road is built on a piece of cork underneath to give it the height, but then I used a couple strips of styrene to give me a nice smooth pavement look, and then I had this kit here for the grade crossing, so I just used that because it looked cool. And of course I got some of the scenery down. I kind of wanted to show other people what the scenery is going to eventually look like. So I've got some of the basic scenery in over here. I'm going to put some buildings here, maybe a couple, some trees or something here to kind of fill that up. But there's going to be a warehouse here. This switches in. This ground throw is temporary. It will eventually be replaced with a under-the-table tortoise switch machine, just because it's a CTC controlled switch. This switch will stay ground throw. That signal is wired up and functions, and he even has a cutout switch, so I can, or a lockout switch, so I can basically drop the signal. It is a tri-light, which is the wrong style signal for that location, but that's just what I had, what I'm going to use. I'm going to put another one on the other main here eventually. Moving a little further down, the backdrop is still there. Now, these mock bridge supports used to sit about there, and I kind of liked it there because it was right on the corner here. But as I was putting in this industry and everything, I realized it would look weird if the tail end was underneath the bridge, so I moved them more here, putting them more in line with the view block to kind of give them to extend the view block beyond where it will actually end, which this is just a temporary piece of cardboard until I can get some masonite put up. Of course, we're following the main line a little further around. I wanted to show how the industrial track would look for Novi lumber. It doesn't have a proper name yet, but we're calling it Novi lumber. This track here is just long enough for a locomotive and 2 cars, which is important because that's how you switch out this industry. Because you're not allowed to use the passage siding or the yard tracks when you're switching this industry. You can only use the main line, and you have no way of running around your train, so you have to have 2 cars in front of your locomotive when you come up to this industry. And of course, we've got the ground throw here so we can operate that switch. We've got a switch here so we can do that. Of course, this is another temporary switch, another building. There's no lights in that one. I'm still putting the details on that one. A little further down at this bridge. These bugs are bugging me. I'm going to close the door. Whew. So the bridge got bumped a while ago. Not from the side, but actually I dropped something. I forget what it was. I was doing some work here. And I went, oops. So it had to get a little TLC. This switch will have a switch machine on it, which will be on this side. I'll probably have to put some extending rods just because of the board here and a screw right there. We're going to turn around and boom, yard. Huge yard done. I'm not going to be using the ground throws because what I'm doing is I'm using these slide switches. Now, this is my first prototype one right here. But as you can see, when you throw the switch, there's a lot of bugs. It also throws the points. Now, the switch is wired up to the frog, so when you throw the switch, you're also changing the polarity of the frog. And I've got 2 of them installed. I've got one here, and I've got one here. And I'm going to do more. I could only find these 2 at Radio Shack when I went. But the yard is ballasted, and I actually mixed a lot of paint in with the glue to kind of give it a darker ballast, but then I didn't do it evenly, so that way there's some areas where the ballast is darker and some areas where it's lighter. I also mixed in some grass material with the ballast to kind of give it that dirty grass and weeds build up in there. Now the reason why I ballasted the yard before I did anything else is because the ballast and the glue holding the ballast down is what's holding the yard tracks in place. So without the ballast, the tracks weren't glued down, and I just wanted to get it done, and I think it looks kind of cool. As you can see, I actually have a good size cut of cars here. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars on just track 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, And then this is actually the Wixom turn ready to go out. It's short several cars, but this is one of the locals ready to roll. And the yard is powered and running. I am going to be putting on its own separate power shield. I don't have the power shield yet, so it's jumpered off of the main right now. And of course we got the caboose track right here, that derailed train from earlier. More of the switches. The caboose track right now is also doubling as the yard switcher storage track. This switch here will connect to another switch here on the main line, so that we can go from the main line into the yard. And of course the yard lead comes all the way here, and I had to do some track cleaning, so there's a paper towel. It only goes up to about here, but we'll go all the way to where the black paint ends, right about there. And we got another building here that's still being worked on, that's got all the lights in it and everything. Eventually I'll have the doors and the trim and it weathered up a little more. You can see I've got Kato track set up to follow the entire main line, with the exception of right where the train derailed, it derailed on that switch. And once again, it's because these cars, it was either this car or this car that actually picked the switch because they got the big pizza cutter wheels. But this is actually one of the quote-unquote main lines going around. This is actually the Detroit subdivision going towards Detroit. The Saginaw subdivision, which is being modeled, will continue along the Cork and continue south. I don't have enough Kato track though to follow that, so I had to go there just to get the loop. But and that's about all that's actually gotten done since the last video. I ran all the bus line, the bus line, so that for all the feeder wires, and I have almost every feeder wire hooked up. The other thing that I got hooked up is I do have this panel here. This is where the panel is going to sit. I might move it around. I might leave it here. Eventually it's going to be moved up a little further once I put the fascia around the outside. And I might move it further down. I might move it more might move it more that way, might move it more this way. I might leave it there just because I figure as the yard operator, this is where you're going to be, the yard operator is going to be standing right here, because he's not going to be walking down over there at all. So having it right here, having it there means he can stand about here and not have to move around too much. Same thing with that panel over there. They are both hooked up, and I can run my second cab there off of them. That one's about where that panel is going to be. I might end up adding a third panel, maybe over here near the Wixom area. Maybe, I don't know. Just because I would hate to have a cord stretching from there over if someone needs to get over to the Holly area, which will happen because the Wixom turn ends up sitting there. But yeah, that's about it. Well, it's a mess, but it's been in worse condition, so I actually just vacuumed it and cleaned all the track before I started this video. So thanks for watching. Maybe I'll do another update in the next 10 years or whatever.